Welcome back to the channel, guys. We got more of the PPP loan buffoonery coming to you, this time from Atlanta, Georgia. And this is a pretty lengthy article, so you might want to sit down and make sure you're not doing nothing, or if you want to listen to it while you're out doing some grocery shopping or whatever, go ahead. So, Atlanta, Georgia. Teldrin Foster, John Gaines, and Carla Jackson have been sentenced for their roles in a scheme to steal Paycheck Protection Program funds during the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, a total of 23 individuals have been convicted and sentenced in connection with the fraudulent scheme. Foster, Gaines, and Jackson, together with 20 other defendants who have already been sentenced for their participation in the criminal scheme, took advantage of a relief program designed to keep small businesses afloat during the COVID-19 pandemic, says U.S. Attorney Ryan K. Buchanan. These defendants have been held accountable for depriving this program of funds desperately needed by some of the most vulnerable in our society, and their sentences send a clear message that fraud against the government will not be tolerated. Those who took advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic relief programs are realizing from these sentences that even after 4 years since Congress enacted them, they are still being held accountable, says Demetrius Hardiman, Special Agent in Charge, IRS Criminal Investigation, Atlanta Field Office. IRS Criminals Investigation Special Agents will continue to investigating and forwarding for prosecution to the U.S. Attorney's Office those who committed fraud against the government. COVID-19 disaster relief fund. Yeah. You already know this. They keep telling you the same thing in every single article, apparently. Okay, so according to the U.S. Attorney Buchanan, the second superseding indictment and other information presented in court from April 2020 through August 2020, Foster worked with co-defendant Daryl Thomas and others to fraudulently obtain at least 14 fraudulent loans. Each of the 14 businesses obtained a PPP loan between $700,000 and $850,000 for a total of over $11 million. The loan applications certified that each applicant's business was in operation on February 15, 2020, and had employees for whom it paid salaries and payroll taxes or paid independent contractors. The funds would be used to retain workers, and the application and in all supporting documents and forms was true and accurate in all material respects. The PPP loan application reported that each business maintained between 59 and 69 employees and generated approximately $295,000 to $342,000 in average monthly payroll expenses. To support these payroll figures, each business's loan application was accompanied by an IRS Form 941, which employers use to report quarterly payroll taxes for each quarter of 2019, and by a bank statement or a spreadsheet reflecting payroll expenses. In fact, none of these businesses had employees or incurred payroll expenses. The Form 941s, bank statements, and W-2 payroll spreadsheets were all fabricated. Some of the supporting documents the businesses submitted were substantively identical, including the Form 941, bank statements, and W-2 payroll spreadsheets, where the reported figures were identical but purportedly employee names had been changed. So pretty much they used the exact same documents, just changing the names of the employees on the documents and then submitted them all as if they wouldn't get caught. Like, yeah, I got to do better than this. If you're gonna have such an elaborate plan to defraud the government, which none of y'all really had an elaborate plan because it was so easy for it to figure out. Gaines worked with co-defendant Thomas and others to obtain fraudulent PPP loan in the amount of $806,710 for a Georgia business called Gaines Reservation and Travel, but that business had no employees or payroll expenses. To support the fraudulent PPP loan application, Gaines provided Thomas with fabricated bank statements for Gaines Reservation and Travel that reflected fake payroll deductions, and the PPP loans was approved. The funds were deposited into an account controlled by Gaines. Gaines later directed payments to Thomas that were disguised as payments for rent and payroll, which are approved expenses under the PPP. So basically, he was trying to wash the money, saying that he got this money, and since he didn't have any employees, he sent it to someone else in order for him to show that he's paying somebody. But I mean, if you're only paying one person, obviously you don't have as many employees as you say you do. So Jackson laundered some of the proceeds of Gains Reservation and Travel's PPP loan, receiving over $300,000 of the stolen PPP funds into her business bank account. The funds were transferred via a check in the amount of $155,252.50 and a wire transfer in the amount of $179,985.72. The check falsely claimed that the funds were provided to Jackson as consulting fees and daily business management, and the wire transfer documentation falsely stated that the funds were for payroll services. In actuality, Jackson was assisting Gaines in concealing the stolen PPP funds from detection and seizures by federal law. U.S. District Judge John Paul J.P. Bouley sentenced the defendants as follows. Teldrin Foster of Atlanta, Georgia, was sentenced to 10 years and 1 month in prison, to be followed by 3 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $9,606,627. Boy, just reading that makes me, thank God I never did any crap like this in my life, man. Can you imagine having to pay almost $10 million back, plus do 10 years in prison with 3 years supervised release, and after that, ain't nobody gonna hire you? How is this man gonna pay back this money? That's for him to figure out. On February 15, 2024, he was convicted by a jury of 6 counts of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and wire fraud, 8 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 6 counts of bank fraud, 14 counts of wire fraud, 6 counts of making false statements to a federally insured financial institution, and 1 count of money laundering. John Gaines of Marietta, Georgia, was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in prison, to be followed by 3 years supervised release. He was also ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $806,710. On January 31st, 2024, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of money laundering. Carla Jackson of Tucker, Georgia, was sentenced to 3 years in prison, to be followed by 2 years of supervised release. She was ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $335,238. On February 15, 2024, she was convicted by a jury of 2 counts of money laundering. To date, a total of 24 individuals have been charged in connection with the fraudulent scheme. 20 other individuals have pleaded guilty and been sentenced, with one defendant's charges remaining pending. And that's pretty much all the good information in this article. So yeah, if you get caught doing these PPP loans, you're pretty much screwed. Because not only are you going to have this man a long time in jail, pretty lengthy. Like, this dude is spending 10 years. You got 10 years. This person is spending 5 years and 3 years. You doing some time. Doing some time for this money laundering. And on top of that, you got to pay back what you took. Knowing that most of y'all spent it all on some BS like cars, jewelry, clothes, and stuff you couldn't afford otherwise. But that's the case with a lot of these PPP loan news stories. So hopefully, when you guys watching this video are have taken part in any sort of PPP loan fraud activity, because defrauding the government is one of the dumbest things you can do. Because 1, you're defrauding the government, which they know everything about you. And 2, you're going to get caught because, like I said, they know everything about you. But let me know what you guys think about this. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all next time.